Epilogue. 1 year later. Okay, step up. Julie giggled as she stumbled over what seemed to be the threshold of a doorway. A mix of scents including garlic, onions, potatoes, oil, beef and chicken enveloped her in a welcome embrace as she found her footing again. You realize you've made this harder than it needs to be, right? Brandon's chuckle tickled the small hairs by her ear, though his hands didn't move from her eyes. But this is a surprise. Therefore, it's necessary. He didn't drop his hands until Wanda's voice cut through the din. Girl, don't you know you're not allowed to go off and get married in Vegas? Brandon's arms wrapped around Julie's waist, and he rested his chin on her shoulder. I'll remember that for next time. She brought her arms up to Brandon's, content with every gesture he made to show his love for her. Next time, huh? His voice was low in her ear, and the intimacy which had felt so foreign a year ago made her melt with joy. Oh, hush. She batted at his arm, playfully. Seriously, you two ran off and got married? Liz waved at the waiter and ordered onion rings for the table. Taylor leaned in with an accusatory glare. Without us? Brandon laughed and kissed Julie's cheek, murmuring something about drinks. As he walked off, Julie joined the group at the table. We tried the big wedding thing, but it just didn't feel right. Then, the closer we got to my birthday, the more anxious we got. We realized the important part was the promise we made to each other as kids, that we'd marry each other at 32 if we were still single. I was about to turn 33, so we rented a car and drove to Vegas. Wanda rolled her eyes. Sure, make it sound romantic. That'll help. Julie bit back an amused smile. We're going to throw a party for our friends and family who couldn't be there, would that help? Both Liz and Taylor jumped out of their seats. It's not the same. Julie raised her shoulders in surrender. I'm sorry? Taylor sniffed. We had a rocking bachelorette party planned, so you should be. It's an experience you'll never get back. Liz agreed. Brandon returned with a couple of brightly colored, fizzy drinks and put one in front of Julie. You're not giving my bride too hard a time with the eloping, are you? They're roasting me. Brandon contorted his face as if he was in pain. Would it help if I said it was mostly her idea? The women roared as Julie nudged him with her shoulder. Liar. He snickered. 2 baskets landed on the table, one filled with pepper jack cheese bites and another with sweet potato fries. The waitress dropped a bottle of the house ranch and a half-dozen plastic condiment dishes on the table before she rushed off again. Isn't it crazy? Julie reached for a couple of cheese bites as Wanda and Liz reached for the ranch. What? A year ago, you were grilling me about Brandon and the flowers he left on the desk. Now, you're giving me grief about eloping to Vegas. Brandon gave a quick squeeze to her knee. Sounds like these girls could go a little easier on you, especially around your birthday. Wanda rocked back into her chair and stared at Julie. That was a year ago? Julie nodded. That was a year ago. Liz popped some of the cheese bites into her mouth. Feels longer. Taylor shook her head. Only because you've had 3 boyfriends since then. Liz shrugged. Let a relationship run its course, I always say. Wanda huffed. Honey, some people have to take antibiotics longer than some of your relationships last. Julie sat back, content to watch the proceedings as she nibbled on the sweet potato fries. Brandon leaned over to her. Happy? She caressed his cheek, her diamond ring catching the light in the gaslit pub. Delirious. He grinned as he moved in for a kiss, nothing fancy, just a reassuring peck on the lips. Liz coughed, and the newlyweds turned their attention back to the table. Well, I propose a toast. To Julie Carmichael, the birthday girl, the best friend, a serious attorney, and to the man who convinced her after 15 years that he was worth waiting for. A loud cheer erupted from the other guests at the table. Julie just smiled at her friends, her husband's hand in hers under the table. She raised her glass and mentally added her own ending. To many more birthdays with this high school boyfriend, her first love and the love of her life. May they always be as wonderful as this one. The end.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this audiobook, look below for links to Rachel Anderson's books. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to be alerted when new content is uploaded.